This is so weird. Oh my
God.
god. They're so strange. Such a strange animal.
As if you didn't have enough to worry about, we're here to add more eerie details to your thoughts and enhance your nightmares with a splash of deep-sea horror. From a fish that hides under the seabed ready to zap unsuspecting victims with electric shocks to the largest clownfish you've ever seen, here are 20 terrifying sea creatures that really exist. Number 20. Remora fish. This sea creature sucks, well, in some ways anyway. Although whether it's super scary, I'll leave that up for you to decide. The remora fish is a legendary sea creature that's been in the seafaring tales of humans since at least Roman times. These weird fish are found in tropical and subtropical waters and are often associated with sharks. They're also colloquially known as shark suckers, suckerfish, and discfish. These nicknames may offer you a clue to the unusual habits of the remora. Sometimes referred to as a kind of hitchhiking fish, remora have a flat sucking disc on the top of their heads. They use this to attach themselves to all kinds of animals, especially sharks, rays, and sea turtles, but they can sometimes be found suckered to ships and even the occasional, extremely unfortunate diver. They use this ability to attach to other animals for a variety of benefits, and they can literally hitch a lift. They may receive inadvertent protection from predators, and they can gain a wider selection of chances for feeding. Although their sucker will form a powerful vacuum attachment, the remora does not hurt or leave a scar on their host. Even so, the idea of having a fish like this, or even several of them, dangling off your body might be rather disturbing or at least kind of gross. So just maybe, this fish will give you nightmares. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or the centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Number 19. Dragonfish. Although the dragonfish is only about 6 inches long, it still cuts a fearsome figure in the deep, dark ocean, especially if you're a teeny-weeny creature that the dragonfish likes to call lunch. These eel-shaped predators, with their extremely gruesome grins and fong-line jaws, are one of the things that make the dragonfish formidable hunters, as they allow them to eat prey almost half their own size. Those nasty teeth and dead-eyed faces make this fish scary enough, but the thing that puts them into the category of nightmares is their power of invisibility. No, seriously, these creatures have fangs that are almost totally transparent, which means they blend into their surroundings, and potential prey can hardly see those nasty big jaws as they clamp down upon their heads. To add a decidedly spooky element to the dragonfish's already scary appearance, it also emits an eerie bioluminescent glow. It is a proper creep, even if it is small. Number 18. Gulper Eel. The gulper eel, which is also known as the pelican eel, is one of the most unusual and, frankly, creepy animals that you may ever come across in the deep seas of our incredible planet. Now, first off, isn't gulper a fun word? Go on, say it. Gulper. See? Anyway, the gulper eel sort of looks like a standard eel, all that long body and not much else stuff. And they're related to all the other sea-based eels like the ugly old moray. Yeah, these gulpers are black in color and aren't exactly gigantic. Not when they're compared to some of the other eel species, anyway. They're, on average, only between 2 and 3 feet in length. These sea creatures live in the deep ocean and can be found at depths from anywhere between 1,600 to 10,000 feet below the surface. But what makes them freaky and fascinating is their weird and enormous gulping mouth. It doesn't just go around with a big wide-open mouth all the time, though. The gulper eel is actually able to expand its mouth like a big balloon so that it can swallow its prey. Afterwards, the eel deflates its mouth and returns to its regular old eel-shaped body. These mysterious sea creatures are really very seldomly seen, so not that much is actually known about them, which adds to their overall creep factor, now doesn't it? Number 17. Coffin Fish. Although it does sound like the kind of fish you might come across in the Addams Family aquarium, it's not entirely as spooky as it sounds. Basically, all the animals that live in the deeper parts of the ocean are subject to all of our more irrational fears and anxieties about the unknown. The deeper they dwell, the less we seem to know about them, and that's probably why we give many of them the most unflattering sorts of names. The poor old coffin fish is a case in point. Coffin fish are also known by another gothic-sounding name, sea toads. These deep-sea dwelling creatures are certainly rather strange-looking, but this is because they're brilliantly adapted to their living environment. Coffin fish have developed special fins, which they use for walking on the seafloor, and they also have enormous gill chambers that can inflate by expanding the animal's body with water. This apparently allows them to take up more oxygen. This adaptation might be one of the best for conserving their valuable energy in a food-scarce environment like their natural habitat. Number 16. Frilled Shark. The so-called living fossil is a scary, and actually downright terrifying, ancient species of shark that, although rare, is still out there menacing people from time to time with its intensely intimidating appearance and sharkish habits. Although there are apparently a few of these sharks still out there, sightings are so incredibly rare that one has only been captured alive in living memory. On one occasion, this particular specimen was pulled from the water near Lake's entrance in Victoria, Australia, by a group of rather surprised fishermen. It was such an unusual occurrence that the story made the headlines and captured the imaginations of many all over the world. This super strange shark dates back to at least 80 million years ago, according to scientists, so the thing has been kicking around the waters for so long it's no wonder that it's known as a living fossil. The name Frilled Shark is on account of the big old fish's 6 pairs of frilly gills. It looks a bit like it's sporting some sort of Elizabethan ruff, but with a toothier edge than most of those stuffy old portraits. Now it's time for today's topic. While on a typical fishing expedition off the coast of California, a group of local fishermen found themselves face to face with an unbelievable sight, a giant clownfish. As they were hauling in their nets, expecting the usual catch of tuna or mackerel, the massive, bright orange and white creature began to emerge from the ocean depths. It was only when they hoisted the net fully on deck that they realized what they had caught, an enormous version of the beloved and familiar clownfish species. The fishermen were shocked and confused, having never seen anything like it before. This oversized clownfish, which measured over 8 feet in length, was far larger than any of its kind ever recorded. Experts who were contacted to investigate the catch were equally baffled, with early speculation suggesting that this particular fish had undergone a form of rapid genetic mutation, or possibly experienced unchecked growth, due to changes in oceanic conditions. What makes this discovery even more mysterious is the fact that clownfish are typically much smaller and found in coral reefs, far from the deep ocean where this one was caught. As marine biologists scramble to analyze the creature, one troubling theory has emerged. The unusually high radiation levels in this part of the ocean may have caused a serious mutation, resulting in this massive, deformed clownfish. If true, it could signal far-reaching implications for marine life in the area. Number 15. Blobfish. Oh, look at these guys. With a face like Mr. Magoo or maybe a piece of rude graffiti, the poor old blobfish gets a whole bunch of abuse. Declared by some to be the ugliest animal in the world, the blobfish is kind of fascinating. Their features can be eerily human but usually in a more comical way, like a grumpy-faced old cartoon grandpa rather than the spooky kind of human face you sometimes see other animals sporting. The blobfish has a big, gelatinous head with huge lips and small eyes, and often a particularly displeased expression. You'd probably look a bit cross if people kept making jokes about your face as well. This unfortunate fish belongs to a family of sea creatures that are affectionately known as fathead sculpins. These guys can't catch a break, can they? However, the blobfish is perfectly adapted to where it lives. Its gelatinous appearance is the result of having very few bones. Living at a depth of 2,000 feet, the pressure down there would crush other types of bodies, so the blobfish's wobbly body doesn't seem so silly now after all, does it? Number 14. Amphipod. Would you just look at the size of these things? There's nothing quite like a massive crustacean to give your nightmare some new depth of flavor. While investigating a deep-sea trench, some marine scientists got their own bad dreams enhanced when they sent traps to the deepest depths in order to sample what was going on down there. They had previously only seen the sort of feeble relations of these giant amphipods and certainly were not used to the monstrous scale of these sea creatures. In fact, these big boys and girls are more than 20 times bigger than their regular old relative. But scientists were so taken aback by the presence of these weird creatures, they simply could not fathom what on earth they were doing in that particular spot. But that's the thing now, isn't it? It's essentially what makes all of these sea creatures just a bit more terrifying. We, as human beings, know so very little about them, even down to where we might find them. The world's covered with water, and yet what lies beneath most of it is still but a mystery to us land-loving humans. Puts you off paddling a bit now, doesn't it? Number 13. Chimera. Now, something named after a fearsome mythical creature must surely be an animal with some heavy creepster vibes and probably a whole bunch of unsavory habits to boot. The chimera of Greek mythology was a monster that was made up of a snake, a goat, and a lion that breathed fire. The sea-dwelling namesake of this fearsome creature, though, is a deep-sea-based monster, which is apparently a composition of a bunch of different substances, which includes slimy skin and lots of gross cartilage-type stuff. There are actually several species of the deep-sea chimera, the weirdest one being the long-nosed chimera. That long nose is a special adaptation that contains tons of sensory nerve endings, which it uses to detect smaller fish in the super dark waters of the deepest seas. It also has a defensive strategy in the form of a nasty spine on its dorsal fin that it can use to inject venom into any would-be predator. There are many different kinds of chimera, and most of them are totally terrifying to look at, with glowing eyes and horrible combinations of scary features. Just look at the thing. It really is the stuff of the most elaborate and darkest nightmare ideas that your imagination could ever muster up. except that this is actually real. Sweet dreams, my friends, sweet dreams. Number 12. Stargazer fish. Now, this funny-looking guy is most definitely meaner than what he appears to be. The white-margined stargazer may sound like a hopeless romantic, spending all of his time gazing heavenward, but don't let that name, or indeed the goofy expression, fool you. The stargazer's name is such because of the unique position of its eyes, and they gaze towards the stars. But this fish is a menace, and its eyes are positioned like that so it can hide out undetected and ambush its prey. The white-margined stargazer is able to burrow itself into the sand or silt, leaving only its eyes visible. It is one of the great masters of disguise in all the world's oceans. When a small fish or crustacean gets too close, the stargazer lunges upward with lightning speed, swallowing its prey whole. Living mainly in the Indo-Pacific Ocean, the white-margined stargazer eats octopus, squid, and a bunch of other fish. You might think that its ability to camouflage itself would be the stargazer's superpower, but this fish has more than one trick up its sleeve. Not only is it venomous, but it's also one of the few fish capable of generating electricity, which it uses as a defense mechanism or to stun prey. These guys are poisonous, and they can deliver electric shocks. Ouch! The stargazer has 2 spines equipped with venom that it's able to deploy to capture its unfortunate prey. And if that isn't enough, these fish can produce their own power, delivering an electric charge of up to 50 volts. How shocking! And despite being a danger to other sea creatures, the white-margined stargazer is sometimes caught by fishermen and even considered a delicacy in certain regions, though careful handling is obviously a must. Number 11. Big red jellyfish. Perhaps after all the naming mishaps that the fish of our oceans have encountered, it makes sense to bring in Captain Obvious for the naming duties from now on. And apparently that's what happened when going about the business of naming this sea creature. These big red jellyfish are actually super rare, but they do cut a mysterious shape in the deep seas when they're occasionally seen. In fact, these creatures are pretty shy. They have only been spotted by divers a handful of times, ever. The bell part of the big red jellyfish is approximately 3.3 feet across, and its weird fleshy arms can measure more than 33 feet in length. So, if you do happen upon one, it can be a bit surprising, to say the least. It kind of glows a very spooky sort of red color and has a haunting kind of look as it creeps about the water, being distinctly shady. Some of the other names that this strange creature goes by are the phantom jellyfish and the ghostly giant, so that gives you a bit of a sense of how people have felt when they've encountered them. Well, that was a lot of fishy fun now, wasn't it? Number 10. Football fish. It seems that we're almost constantly discovering new species in the sea or coming across something that people thought was extinct or whatever, so seeing something weird floating in the water is less unusual than you may think. That doesn't stop it from being really freaky if you happen to be the person to find it, though. These completely unique sea creatures are no oil paintings, that much is true, but they do certainly cause quite a rumpus when they begin popping up amongst the rocks all along the coast. What makes the football fish even stranger is its ability to produce bioluminescence, using a glowing lure attached to its head to attract prey in the darkest depths of the ocean. At first, people thought that this weird black blob was a ball of tar, which although not ideal, is not unheard of in our seas. Upon closer inspection, though, it was soon discovered that the oddity was actually a living creature. This freaky fish is actually a deep-sea predator, rarely seen by humans, so its sudden appearance near the shore is a real mystery. Beneath its black blob-shaped body, it had a strange bulb protruding from its head and a set of totally terrifying spiny teeth, the stuff of nightmares for sure. Oh, and it was also hiding small black eyes and the piece de resistance, an appendage covered in tentacles. Scientists believe this fish only comes near the surface due to injury or other factors that force it out of its usual habitat. This was a weird fish indeed, but apparently one that the powers that be decided to name the football fish. Whatever will be next. Number 9. Vampire squid. The vampire squid is, despite its name, apparently neither a squid nor an octopus. Presumably, it's not even actually a vampire either, but we should probably just make sure. The vampire squid is a kind of small cephalopod living in tropical and temperate waters around the world at depths of between 2,000 and 3,000 feet, with temperatures ranging around 2 to 3 degrees Celsius. That's between 35.5 degrees and 37.5 degrees Fahrenheit. These unique animals are completely different from any other species and are regrettably considered to be endangered on account of the pollution and destruction of their habitats. So, you can probably see why they're called vampire squid. They're black or red-colored and have weird webbed skin that has the appearance of a vampire cape, and they also have some extremely spooky red eyes. They don't change their body color or release ink when threatened like other squid do, but they do eject a glowing sticky mucus that acts in a similar way, confusing a would-be predator. It doesn't seem as though they go around sucking blood, though, and they're not plagued by that pesky affliction of immortality. Number 8. Goblin Shark. The deep-sea dwelling goblin shark is like a nightmare combination of a frightening alien face and a squashed dinosaur. It's actually horrific, but I shouldn't judge something on its appearance. I know that's not really fair. So, are these guys as scary as they look? Well, let's find out. With a long snout on the top and a set of very sharp teeth on the bottom, this shark seems equipped enough to do some predatory stuff. Not only can it shoot its jaws out to grab unsuspecting prey, but it also has a special sensor on its snout that helps it detect the electrical signals of other animals. This means it doesn't even need to rely on sight to hunt in the pitch-black waters of the deep ocean. It has a weird technique for catching its prey. The goblin shark can eject its jaws and send them out in a dangerous snapping motion to grab the passing prey, and then simply reel its jaws back in and scarf up the catch. Ooh, spooky. It's a unique adaptation that makes it one of the more bizarre hunters of the deep. The long-nosed shark is actually, and mercifully, much lazier than many other sharks. Its sluggish behavior means that it's not likely to expend a whole lot of energy in a high-speed pursuit, and given one look at the freaky fish, no doubt you'd be able to outswim it on fear alone. Oh, I'm glad that one's finished. These guys are giving me the creeps. Number 7. Megamouth Shark. If you were under the misguided belief that all sharks were essentially the same kind of big mouth nightmares, then I'm sorry to have to break it to you, but you're quite wrong, my friend. There is a particular species of shark that's so revoltingly terrifying in the facial hole department that you may never sleep again now that you've seen it. Although this monstrous sea creature is all things terrifying, it's also mercifully rare. In fact, this hideous beast has actually only been spotted less than 100 times ever since being discovered. These megamouth sharks live in deep waters, which is one of the reasons that we, as humans and scaredy cats, rarely come into contact with them. But they do occasionally get themselves caught up with fishing gear, like this one that was caught by a group of fishermen who were fishing just a few miles off the coast of the Ise Bay seaport in Japan's Mie Prefecture. For you geographically challenged, that's in the middle area of the mainland. Luckily for us, these fishermen took some video of their crazy catch so we can all enjoy more accurate and vivid nightmares. Hooray! They reckon that the massive creature was around 16.5 feet long and weighed somewhere around a ton. What a sizable bad dream that is right there. Number 6. Fong tooth. You can probably guess why this fish has been given this particular name. The fishy horror movie monster has some pretty mean-looking fangs, but despite its menacing appearance, the Fong tooth fish is only dinky. They measure up to about 6 inches when they're fully grown, so that's a relief, although you will probably never come across one yourself. Even if you did, this scary-faced fish is more likely to give you a jump scare than anything that's painful. They also live really deep down in the ocean. I'm talking at depths between 1,600 and 16,000 feet or more, hanging out in the deeper parts during the day and then heading to shallower waters to feed at night. Now, living at such depths, the Fong tooth has very poor vision, but it has a super advanced system to sense movements and vibrations in the water around it so that it can pick out and chomp down on its prey despite not even being able to see it. Those fangs are pretty lethal, though, and the Fong tooth itself has had to develop a pretty nifty adaptation so that it doesn't accidentally poke holes in its own brain when it closes its mouth. They have special sorts of pouches in their heads to accommodate their fangs, so that's lucky then, or I guess these fish would have probably died out pretty fast. Number 5. Hatchet fish. Well, here's a guy that gets its name from a bit of a no-brainer, right? Obviously, that hatchet-like shaped body captured the oh-so-imaginative naming wizards at the Deep-Sea Fish Investigation Branch, or wherever it is that the naming of these things actually happen. It is a member of a ridiculously unpronounceable family of deep-sea dwelling fishes, and there are about 45 different species within its particular gang. Some of these species can survive at depths of nearly 5,000 feet, where the pressure is immense and the sunlight never reaches. They all vary in size, from around 6 inches all the way down to a titchy 1-inch wonder, and they also have that bioluminescent ability that so many deep dwellers seem to have. It's this bioluminescence that adds to their eerie, ghost-like appearance, making them seem like something straight out of a sci-fi horror movie. They use it to create a counter-illumination that helps them to escape predators by lurking in such a way as not to appear darker if they're viewed from below. How clever. Apparently, for people in the know in the world of the hatchet fish, there's also a kind of freshwater hatchet fish, and these are the sorts that people often have in their home aquariums, not these exciting deep-sea sorts with the shape of a dangerous hatchet blade. And unlike their deep-sea cousins, freshwater hatchet fish aren't quite as spooky, but they still retain that signature body shape. Who knew? Isn't this a thrill ride of nightmare fish? I've never really known such fun. Number 4. The black swallower. This one has a name that is suggestive of something kind of sinister, and that's probably justified. It's definitely up to no good and likely deserves the name of a deadly comic book villain. And would you just look at the fish? It has rows of jagged and nasty-looking teeth, beady black eyes, and the appearance of something you might well conjure up in the throes of a horrible nightmare. Does it give you the wiggins like it does my pet guinea pig, Twinkle? Oh, calm down, Twinkle. It's all gonna be okay, my little baby. The black swallower is so called on account of the creepy creature's ability to swallow things of a considerably larger size than its own. This can apparently include fish that measure up to 10 times the black swallower's size and twice its length. That means a really stretchy gut, EW. The bigger the meal, the more it can stretch to accommodate its size, and as it stretches, the fish's skin will become transparent, which means that if you're lucky, you can actually see what it's eaten inside of its stomach. Although it sounds like it's just a very greedy fish, the black swallower is perfectly adapted to living in the deep ocean. Food all the way down there can be quite scarce, so being able to eat whatever is available and fill up for as long as possible until the next opportunity is this fish's mode of operation. Number 3. Dumbo octopus. These octopuses live at the deepest, darkest depths of the ocean, the deepest of any known octopus species, in fact, at 13,100 feet. This means that these animals are adapted to live in very cold waters without any sunlight at all. Their gelatinous bodies help them withstand the intense pressure at such depths, which would crush other creatures not as well adapted. The rare Dumbo octopus also has some unusual behavior to help it find a mate and successfully reproduce. When the options are limited and there are very few of the species, it's necessary to get creative, They don't rely on seasonal cues for reproduction as many other species do. Now, it is a tiny bit icky, but you'll be all right. The female Dumbo basically carries a variety of eggs around in different stages of development, so whenever they meet a mate they like, they stock up on sperm. You never know when you might find another eligible one for miles down there in the dark. Their slow growth rate is another survival tactic, allowing them to conserve energy in a low-food environment. So, they have the unique ability to store the sperm for long periods of time after mating. This also means that whenever they have optimum conditions for making babies, the female Dumbo octopus can employ the stored sperm with the most suitably developed eggs, thus ensuring the best chance for successful reproduction. It's kind of empowering, really. Number 2. Barreleye fish. Yep, that fish looks super weird. It does seem that the deeper we look into the oceans of the world, the stranger the sea creatures become, and the barreleye fish, well, it's one such oddity. Equipped for a starring role in a science fiction film, the barreleye fish has a transparent, dome-shaped head with extra-sensitive, tube-shaped eyes, which are covered by a green liquid-filled shield. Beautiful. This helps the creature to spot prey above it, even if it is swimming in the pitch darkness of the very deep ocean. They also have a pair of nostrils that look like sad eyes, and a pointy snout with a small mouth. They've got flat, elongated fins, so that they can move through the water by simply floating motionlessly, and their bodies contain a selection of luminous organs, giving the fish an otherworldly glow. Now, while the barreleye fish is no oil painting, it is hard to argue that it isn't well adapted to its deep-sea habitat. This may be one of the best-equipped fish for functioning down there, where other deep-dwelling animals have lost their sight altogether. The barreleye has honed its vision to work even in the gloom. This definitely gives them an edge in the food-finding and eating category, and perhaps in the evasion of predators department as well. Number 1. Giant isopod. If you're unnerved by creepy crawlies, then a massive, oversized bug that hangs out at the bottom of the ocean might just be enough to give you nightmares. But the giant isopod, for all of its creepster vibes, isn't really up to any nefarious ill-doings. In fact, this weird sea creature is kind of helpful. They can measure up to around 2.5 feet long, which is kind of alarming for such an insect-looking thing. These things are not actually insects, though. They look a lot like roly-polies. Those are woodlice to all of you British people. Giant isopods are bottom feeders with a penchant for the grossest sunken sea things. Their unusual and frankly revolting eating habits are actually extremely useful in the wider ecosystem of the undersea world. The giant isopod, with all of its insect-like appearance, is a crustacean living in the deepest of seas and eating all the carcasses of animals that sink to the bottom of the ocean. This unusual animal is sometimes called the vacuum cleaner of the deep. Even if it doesn't have a lovely smiling face like my own vacuum cleaner, it really won't be bothering you anytime soon, so I wouldn't actually lose any sleep over this one. Did any of these sea creatures live up to their terrifying reputations? Or do you have even scarier monsters haunting your dreams? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Think of it as a bit of therapy to unwind after all those spine-chilling tales. Also, be sure to check out the other interesting content appearing on your screen. See you next time.